All right, so hello again, everyone, and welcome to AmeriCorps VISTA and the first webinar of your orientation, Countdown to VISTA Service. Your VISTA service, as you know, is a year-long commitment, and this time, before you start service, is meant to be a time where you learn about your service and your benefits and ensure really that this is the right choice for you. Again, I'm Calvin Landrum.
And I'm Jessica Birch.
Hey, Jessica, and we are here at VISTA headquarters in Washington, D.C. And from the looks of the chat question before we started, we have a lot of folks from around the country joining us today and starting service next week. So let's see, what do we have? You know, our question today was, what motivated you to apply to your VISTA position? And I'm seeing some people, we got Cortez here. It says, I applied because I want to combat racial disparities in my local community. Since I live in a rural area and want to support my community more.
Yeah, we had someone here who said that they heard about VISTA when they did FEMA Corps last year, and so now they want to do more with poverty. So it's wonderful. Another AmeriCorps alum.
Yeah. Hey, Alyssa. You know, as you can see on our slide, I'm an NCCC alum. Jessica is a VISTA alum. So we have definitely been in your position. We've done our service also and loved it, and that's why we're still here today. Now, AmeriCorps is AmeriCorps VISTA is a federal program, and VISTA, or Volunteers in Service to America, was started in 1965 and became part of the AmeriCorps family of programs in 1994 under the federal agency of CNCS, or the Corporation for National and Community Service. Over 220,000 volunteers have served with us. Me and Jessica are just two of them, and you all are another 100 of them. And close to 8,000 will serve this year as full-time members as well as summer associates during the summer. Now, in the next few weeks, you'll be showing up to your project to begin your VISTA journey, and actually next week, next Monday, is your first day of service, which leads us to the first important piece of information. So today we're going to talk about, Jessica, you tell us what we're going to talk about today.
All right, Calvin, let's see if I got it. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is what to do in order to enter service. So what are those things that have to be completed before you can officially become a VISTA member? Also, what to do on your first day of service. So you arrive at your site, now what? Also, we're going to talk a little bit about housing and relocation because we know that applies to a lot of you here. Also, VISTA does have a criminal history check process. We want to go over some of that information for you so that you can be prepared. And then last but not least, we're going to answer your questions because we know that this is a big step, big moment. You may have a lot of questions. So let's first talk about what you need to do to enter service. So you received an email from my.americorps.gov. It would have been from vista@americorps.gov that pointed you to the starting VISTA page of the VISTA campus. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do so, but I am going to highlight a few of the key points here that I want you to pay special attention to. So, certain forms, all of which are in My AmeriCorps, must be completed as soon as possible. These courses and forms are legally required, and we cannot pay you without them being completed. So please make sure you get those done as soon as possible. They are due later this week, so want to make sure you get those done. Calvin, is it Wednesday?
Yeah, those forms are due on Wednesday by close of business tomorrow.
Wonderful. So go ahead and fill those out in your My AmeriCorps account. If you run into any issues doing that, you can always contact the National Service Hotline. They can help you out, and we'll give you that contact information here in just a little bit. Also, there are special provisions that apply to some benefits once you start service. So we want to make sure that you read the information that is key to your VISTA service. For example, the end of service benefit, you can choose the education award or the end of service cash stipend. If you select the education award, you can switch to the cash stipend within your first 10 months of service. But if you select the cash stipend, you can never switch to the education award. So you have until your first day of service to make that change. So if you've accidentally selected the stipend, you want to make sure you make that change as soon as possible so that you don't get locked into a selection you don't want. Also, there are some online courses and tutorials that are linked on the starting VISTA page of the VISTA campus, and those need to be completed as well. This will help you make an informed decision about some of those benefits. And another thing I want to note is the terms and conditions of service. It is linked in your My AmeriCorps account, and that's where you'll need to certify your acceptance. But you take the course through the VISTA campus, and then you certify your acceptance through your My AmeriCorps account. Instructions, pretty detailed instructions, are on the VISTA, the starting VISTA page of the VISTA campus, so take a look at that. These forms and courses, they really do ensure that you receive your living allowance and other benefits that you're entitled to on time. And the courses can help you guide you in your first weeks of service. So the mission and legacy of VISTA, what are we all about, a campus overview, so you can get the most out of the VISTA campus throughout your service year. And as I said, they need to be completed as soon as possible, so make sure you get those done.
For sure, and I want to take a moment because, we may have some VISTAs out there who are saying, oh, I've read all of the information, I've seen this before, you're giving this to me again, why are you telling me this over and over again? And the reason that we're repeating ourselves and that we are telling you information that we've asked you to read is just because it is important. There are some key decisions that you're going to have to make at the beginning of your service, and we really just want to make sure that you know exactly where to go to find the resources to answer all of your questions. If you have questions about health care, health benefits, you should go to the VISTA campus and read up on that. There are wonderful resources there to tell you exactly about your health benefits and what you're entitled to as it relates to your living allowance, making sure that you have that direct deposit correct, which we'll talk about in a bit. But if you're out there thinking, oh, I already know all this, keep paying attention because we might tell you something that you haven't thought of yet.
True. And Calvin, it's also we're repeating it because we know these are the things that people get stuck on sometimes. So we don't want you getting into your first 3 weeks of service, find out your direct deposit information was wrong, and you don't get paid. We want to make sure you get this stuff right because we want to help you have the best service you can, and we don't want those little things in the way.
For sure. Your first day of service should be next Monday, and that's going to be May 14th. That should be your first day of service. You should be in the office on that day. Those of you who are relocating, you must be moved also before that day. I think someone sent me an email and she said, I'm in a moving truck right now on my way to Texas. I'm going to be joining from the road. I hope that's okay. I said, yes, that's fine. If you're on there, hello. If you're on our chat, you can hear me. Hello, I hope your drive is going well. But you should be moved into your new homes by next Monday. Now, if you have any issues that are preventing you from being on your site next Monday, we should discuss that and have a conversation. You can send me an email. You can reply to one of the emails that I've sent you, or you should be contacting your supervisor. Get in touch with your supervisor and let them know, hey, I can't be there on Monday because of X, Y, Z, so that we can work that out and make sure that everyone's just sort of in the loop about where you are. Because we don't want to get to Monday where we have a webinar, we have to swear you into service. Like, you have to do things on Monday that will stop you from being paid. So if you don't show up on Monday, we can't pay you. And it'd be really nice if everyone was just aware of that. So please, I suggest that you confirm your plans with your supervisor if you haven't been in contact for a while. Even if you know you're going to be there on Monday, maybe just shoot them a quick email and say, hey, just to confirm, this is the address. I'm going to be there on Monday. I'm really excited about the job, just so that they're ready and you're ready to go.
And along with that, on your first day of service, you're also going to have a webinar. It's going to be something that VISTA is going to present. It's going to be called Launching Your VISTA Service. The registration link for the webinar can be found in the Guide to Entering VISTA Service that you received. Once you registered for this one, you should have automatically been registered for the other one. That's right, Calvin? Yep,
yeah,
fantastic.
Correct. Yeah, the registration link was in the email, my first email that I sent.
Wonderful. And then in that webinar, we're going to highlight certain points and decisions that you have to make about your benefits. So we've already talked about benefits. We're going to remind you one more time because we know how critical it is. And just note that it's not going to be a comprehensive overview of your benefits. We want to give you all the tools that you need to make an informed decision and to do your own research. We are going to ask them or answer your questions if you have them, but we hope that you can take time ahead of the webinar to kind of read up on your benefits and see what questions you may have. At that time, we're also going to induct you into service and administer the oath of office. So there is an oath form, which is a legal document that needs to be completed, and we will describe that to you. It has to be signed by you, your supervisor has to sign it, and then it has to be submitted to the VISTA Member Support Unit on Monday. So don't worry about that right now. We're going to go over all of those instructions on Monday. Just want to give you a heads up that you will be inducted into service that day. And as Calvin said, until we have that form, until we have all those things, we can't activate you or pay you. We desperately want to pay you.
Yeah, please take our money, take your money. That is yours that you are earning as a VISTA member. So again, you heard me talk about relocation, and those of you who are relocating should be there by Monday. You should have received an email at this point confirming your relocation. We're less than a week away from your start date, so you've definitely received some information about relocation. So, you know, if you have any questions about that, again, either reply to that relocation email, get in touch with the supervisor, or email me. Now, I'm curious to know, in the chat, does everyone know, like, how much their living allowance is going to be? If you do, you can put a yes in the chat. If you don't, you can put a no. But I'm just like, I'm curious just to know, like, if you know exactly how much you're going to be making. Bridget says no. Tim says no. We got a lot of yeses, a lot of nos. Maybe?
Monica's just like, maybe. She's like, I'm middle of the road, like, maybe.
While I'm going over some things, I'm going to ask Jessica if she'll drop the link to the VISTA pay rates by county. And what that is a document where you can look up exactly where you're serving by the county and the state, and it'll tell you exactly how much you can expect every 2 weeks. Now, the amount that is going to be displayed is your amount pre-tax, so it's that amount minus taxes. And those taxes are, again, going to depend on what you put in your W-4. Now, your first living allowance payment will be Friday, June 1st, 2018, and it's going to be for 13 days of pay. The reason it's for 13 days and not 14 is because you're starting service on a Monday, not a Sunday. You know, Sunday is the first day of the pay period, so you're not working that day, you start on Monday. So it's going to be for 14 days of service. It's going to be almost an entire living allowance payment. Along with this, if you relocated for service, you're also going to receive your settling in allowance on this date. So you'll receive 13 days of pay and the settling in allowance if you relocated. So this is good information to write this down so you have it. June 1st is your first payday. Now, VISTAs may supplement their living allowance by working part-time. There's a couple like small conditions with that. Your supervisor has to agree, and essentially that's just them saying, yes, this is cool, it's not interfering with your VISTA service, and it can conflict with your other VISTA service. So, for example, you can't be a tutor and be paid for that at a school where you are also a VISTA. So you can't have a second job at the place where your VISTA site is. And again, and VISTA service really needs to take the priority, has to take the priority for any second job you have. Now, the VISTA program is not responsible, and this kind of goes with relocation, is not responsible for securing your housing. However, if you are in need of housing, you should speak to your supervisor first. These are the people who are on the ground. They live in the community. They're going to have the best resources of where to look, where not to look. Maybe they know someone who's running out of room. That's going to be the first person you should go to as your supervisor if you're having issues with housing. You can also search the discussion forums on the VISTA campus to see how VISTA members utilize each other and their resources to benefit them. And yeah, just keep an eye out. If you're still looking for housing, be aware of scams and all that good stuff. Protect yourself. If something seems too good to be true, it most definitely is. Me and Jessica live in Washington, D.C., and I've had to do the housing search. I could tell you I've seen lots of scams and replied to a couple of them. They got me a couple of times.
I tried to scam Calvin one time. It didn't work.
It didn't
Trying
work.
to test him.
I've learned I'm unscammable now.
So in addition to receiving your living allowance, there are many other benefits that may be of interest to you. And in your pre-service work, you are going to be instructed, as I mentioned, to visit the Benefits Hub to better understand, and I'm going to post that link right now in the chat to the Benefits Hub. It is your responsibility to know these details, especially before you begin service. There are certain application deadlines and how different benefits may impact you, so you definitely want to do your research. For example, you'll want to read the information about the health care benefit so that you understand which of the two situations apply to you, and so that you're ready to take action once you are finally in service and you get a notification from our health benefit provider, which is I Am Global. They're going to email you about 2 weeks into service. They're going to say, hey, do you have health insurance and you want to enroll in the health care allowance that we provide, or are you legally exempt from having to have health insurance and you're going to enroll in the health benefit? If you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, you're definitely going to want to visit the IMG website and learn a little bit more about the healthcare benefit. Healthcare is confusing. not just this healthcare, like I don't like reading my healthcare benefits. It's super confusing. So it's a big thing to try to learn. Also, as I mentioned, remember that end of service benefit, you must choose between either the education award or the cash stipend. Each of the two options has their own specific use, tax liability, and more. So it's important that you make the decision that's best for you and that you're fully informed. If you have student loans, you'll want to know the details behind our federal loan forbearance, which is only for federal loans, and only if you select the Siegel Education Award as your end-of-service benefit. You will be able to submit your federal loan forbearance request in your my.americorps.gov account about a week after you start service. If you have private loans, you will need to contact your lender to see if you can set up deferment or other options that they may have. The VISTA campus also includes information about the child care benefit, professional development opportunities, and so much more. So understand which benefits require you to take action, what you need to do, when, so that you can really get the most out of your VISTA year.
Yes, get the most out of that VISTA year, take advantage of all these benefits because there are some good ones. So you're going to have to get fingerprinted and undergo an FBI background check once you start service. We do this so that we can, protect you and protect the community members and volunteers that we're working with. Prior to service in your application, we expected you to fully disclose any crimes that you've been convicted of. So if you remember way back, maybe for some of you, when you were first doing your application, we asked, is there any criminal history here? And that includes really like everything but parking tickets or, traffic things. Now, if you haven't fully disclosed, it's really in your best interest to do so immediately after this call. You can send an email to vistafingerprint@cns.gov, and I'll ask Jess to type that into the chat so you have that email address. It's vistafingerprint@cns.gov to begin that discussion about your criminal history. Now, there's 3 items that will automatically disqualify you from VISTA service. One is any violence against a minor, any sexual offense in general, or, murder. Hopefully you haven't made it this far and you've murdered someone. Any other criminal history will be weighed by your project, VISTA HQ, and your CNCS state office to determine if it would be, if you'd be permitted to serve. So again, it's best to be completely open and honest about that. We do provide you with a fingerprint subsidy of $25, and that comes with your first living allowance payment, and that's to help you offset the cost of any fingerprint. Now, we're fully aware that sometimes it's free to get fingerprinted, and sometimes it may cost $40 to get fingerprinted. We can't really account for those variables, so everyone gets an extra $25 with their first living allowance payment to help, again, offset that cost. If you're thinking, oh, I've already submitted fingerprints, you probably submitted them to your project and not to the VISTA program. For example, a lot of education programs will require their own background check. So if you've already submitted fingerprints to your project, you'll have to do them again for VISTA, and you'll get that fingerprint kit with our fingerprint cards, the guidance, and all that stuff on your first day of service. Your supervisor should have that for you. If they don't have that for you, have them email vistafingerprint@cns.gov or get in touch with your corporation state office.
All right, so Calvin and I have talked a lot about kind of the logistics of your service. So first day of service, the 14th, check. We know that you need to review your benefits, also the criminal history stuff. But really, let's talk a little bit about what you're actually going to be doing as a VISTA and learn a little bit more about that. So at the heart of your VISTA service is your VISTA assignment description, or what we call the VAD. It tells you what the overarching goals of your project is and explains the objectives that you're working towards during your year. In addition, it also lays out specific activities that you will be working towards and what you will want to accomplish for your year so that you can work up to those goals. All VISTA members should have a VISTA assignment description. If you don't have yours or you haven't seen it, you can download a copy of it from your my.americorps.gov account. Make sure you have your VAD by your first day of service. So bring that with you on your first day, and make sure it's in line with what you agreed to do in your interview. So if you interviewed for maybe a volunteer coordinator position, but you're looking at this and not once does it say the word volunteer, but it has a whole lot of information about grant writing, talk to your supervisor about that. you know, maybe you really want to do grant writing, so maybe that's great for you, but also we've had the opposite where someone's like, I didn't know I was signing up for this. So make sure it's in line with what you've agreed to do. Your supervisor is there every day to support you with your VAD, and your state office, which is Corporation for National and Community Service State Office, is there to help you if you have any additional questions. So if you do not have your VAD, if you cannot find it on your MyAmeriCorps account, and if you're unable to get in contact with your supervisor, you can contact your state office. And Calvin's going to talk a little bit about the different points of contact that you have available to you throughout your VISTA service.
What an excellent segue. So the VISTA program is part of a sort of larger organization, and there's a few levels of support and departments for you as a VISTA member that we're going to talk about at first. So if you can see on our little graphic, you can see you, the VISTA, sitting there hanging out in an orange shirt, and your first level of support from day one is your supervisor or your sponsoring organization. Now, they're there to support you with your day-to-day tasks. It's really important to keep them up to date with any changes in your plans, especially as we're coming up to your first day of service. If you have, a change of heart, if you are having issues relocating, or if there are circumstances preventing you from serving, you should let your supervisor know as soon as possible. This is also the person that you're going to go to. They're sort of your first line of defense when you have questions. You should always, obviously, go to your supervisor and say, hey, I'm having this issue. Can you help me out with this? And if they don't have the answer, I'm sure we can find it. Now, your next level of support is your CNCS state office. So if you ask your supervisor a question, they don't have the answer, they're probably going to go to your CNCS state office. Now, you have access to your state office, your supervisor does, everyone at your project has access to your state office. And they're really the office that oversees your project at the state level. And they can be a really, really great resource if you have any concerns about your project, or again, if there's a question that your project has that you can't answer. So as you can see, the best way to get in touch with them is to email them, and it's going to be your state abbreviation at cns.gov. So if you're in Texas, it's a tx@cns.gov. If you're in Florida, your fl@cns.gov. Let's see, North Dakota, nd@cns.gov, and so on and so forth. So it's very, very easy to get in touch with them. If you send an email to that email address, it goes to everyone in your state office, and the appropriate person will get back in touch with you. So above your state office is VISTA headquarters, and that's where me and Jessica are. That's where we live here in DC. That includes us here from the training unit, from the VMSU. Hopefully everyone has heard of the VMSU. That's the VISTA Member Support Unit, and they are there to support you. That's who you call, generally if you have questions about benefits, or if you're just feeling kind of lost and need some guidance, and just say, hey, where do I go with this? You can always email the VMSU at vmsu@cns.gov. I used to work there, Jessica used to work there, and I can firmly tell you that if you email the VMSU or if you give them a call, nothing ever gets lost. So someone will get back to you. We may not have the answer, but we will get back to you and let you know where to find the answer. But a lot of times we have the answer. So VMSU is an excellent, excellent resource for you. If all else fails, you can call and say, help, I'm spiraling, I don't really know what's happening on my project. Who do I go to? And they may say, contact your state office, or contact this office. So those are kind of the major levels of support that are available to you as a VISTA member. And we also have a great VISTA resource and contact sheet that is on the Starting VISTA page, and you'll see that in the chat. I'm partial to it because it's one of my babies. I made this list because I was like, man, we need to have one place where you can go and get all of the information that you need about any question that you might have. So if you take a look at that, I think you'll be very surprised, and I'm very happy to know if you're thinking of any questions, this has your full list of contacts of where you should go.
Calvin, literally 3 of us posted it because we know how much you love it. So it was bam, bam, bam.
Nice. Bridget Benson says thank you. Bridget, you are very, very welcome. I do it for you. Now, you can manage your own support by taking the time to navigate to VISTA campus and just take a look around and start clicking on things. You can't break the website, so just click on everything and see where it takes you. Kind of go down the rabbit hole of the VISTA campus and see what's there. You're going to unearth some really wonderful resources. Yeah, and again, when in doubt, contact the VMSU. They can be reached at vmsu.gov. I'm sorry, vmsu.gov. That's not true. VMSU at cns.gov or at their phone number through the National Service Hotline, which is, I'm going to type it as I say it, 800-942-2677. Just kidding, Jessica has it. So you can always give them a call or email them. All right, so speaking of questions, I know we've given you a lot to think about, and we're doing pretty well on time. We're only like 30 minutes deep, and we're just about done with all of our content. We will be on the line for just a little while longer, answering any questions that you might have. You can lob us questions about anything, and we will try to answer them. I'm going to ask our operator, Ed, to let you know how to ask questions over the phone.
Thank you, sir. At this time, if you'd like to ask a question on the audio portion, please press star, then 1. Due to the automated entry, you'll be prompted to state your name to the automated service so that I can announce you. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, press star, then 1. And to withdraw your question, you'll press star, then 2. 1 moment, please.
Thank you so much, Ed. And again, you can post questions in the chat box if you need to. You can put them in the Q&A box. There's not too many of us on here, so yeah. So give us a holler, and we'll wait for just a minute while we get any questions.
All right. So Calvin, looks like we have a question in the chat. Just a reminder for questions, we like to be able to monitor the questions, so if you could put them in the Q&A, we just don't want to lose track of it.
Oh, it's okay. I just told everyone, I was like, put it in the chat. You can do whatever you want. It's okay. I mean, there's not too many of us here today, so I think we'll be able to keep track of them.
I obviously wasn't listening like when you were talking to them. So this question came in, and I feel like whoever typed this is like really good at typing, because it would have taken me the whole webinar to type what he typed. So it says, under the Affordable Care Act, all Americans, including VISTAs, are required to have health insurance unless you're legally exempt. He states that this provision was eliminated by the tax bill that was signed into law last year. I was just wondering if this page will be updated to reflect that change in law, which will be effective in 2019. So I appreciate the proactiveness. And yeah, if there's a change that needs to be made on our end and our updates, once that change goes into effect, that's something that we would go ahead and update our resources on. Since it's still in effect for 2018, it's still something we want everyone to be aware of. But definitely, if a change needs to be made, if something significant like that were to change with a benefit, we would definitely send out a notice. We would change our resources, our updates to that, and we would also send you a notification about it.
Definitely, yeah. Once there's a change, you'll know about it. But good eye. Michael is hawk-eyed, eagle-eye on the VISTA campus.
So everyone go to Michael for healthcare questions. I'm just kidding. I won't do that to Michael.
Catherine Wood says, my supervisor does not know where to get the fingerprint kits. Do you have any idea about this? Yes. So Catherine, a couple of things. My first advice would be to have your supervisor email your state office, and say, hey, I don't have a fingerprint kit. Can you send me one? Because they'll be able to send it to them. And if they can't do that, or for whatever reason, they can email vistafingerprint@cns.gov. We put that in the chat, and they will also be able to send you a fingerprint kit.
Calvin, there was another question that came in around fingerprinting, and it was, hey, I did my fingerprints for NCCC. Do I have to do them again? Yes, unfortunately, you do have to do them again. We need a brand new set for VISTA.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know. It's like a thing. It's like, oh, I know in your head you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. I did them already for you. Why do I have to do them again? You know, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to do them again. But considering that we are the government and bureaucracy and, you know, all that fun stuff, you do have to do it again. We understand. But, yeah, you have to do them again.
All right. Another question came in. Said, I have medications that I get regularly and need to be on health insurance as soon as possible. What is the earliest that the health insurance can start?
So that's
2 questions here. So that's the first one. Calvin, I'll let you take the first one.
Sure. So the first part that I want to address is that the VISTA healthcare benefit is not insurance. I do want to state that like very, very clearly that the VISTA health benefit is a health benefit and it does not count as insurance. So that being said, so if you, unless you're legally exempt from having to have insurance, you will have to obtain insurance, for the foreseeable future until whatever, might change in 2019. But for right now, you have to have insurance as a condition of being an American citizen. So that's the first part of that.
And just to piggyback off that too, so I know we get this question a lot, is that, hey, so it's not open season, so how am I supposed to go ahead and get health insurance? So because you're going to be starting as an AmeriCorps VISTA member, that is considered a qualifying life event. So what that means is that you get a 60-day special enrollment period to find health insurance on healthcare.gov and enroll in that. So, so if you're looking for health insurance, you don't know what your options are, you don't have it, you don't know if you need to get it, you have 60 days from your start date, which is May 14th, to go ahead and find insurance. So you do get that special provision there.
Totally.
And then there are a couple of questions here. I know we're getting a couple of questions about people who maybe can't start on the 14th, or there's some questions about their start date. Calvin's going to be following up. If you could send him an email, you should all have Calvin's email, clandrum@cns.gov. Just send him an email. We just want to make sure that everything is in line and that we know what's going on with all you. But we appreciate that you sending us that.
Yeah, totally, yeah. If you're not able to start that day, we just need to be in the know so that we know exactly when to activate you for service. Obviously, we can't pay you for days that you're not in service. So if you're not going to be working from the 14th to the 17th, we definitely need to know that. And also for our knowledge so that we know whenever the 14th comes around and we don't receive an oath from you, that we know why we're not receiving an oath from you and we're not having to like hunt you down and then you keep having to like repeat yourself, like, well, I told this person that that I did this. So yeah, please shoot me an email with that information because I will need to know that so I can keep track of that. Let's see, I see a question here that says, settling in allowance, is that something that goes to everyone automatically, or is it only for people who have done the relocation allowance? So the settling in allowance is only for people who have relocated over 50 miles to serve on their project. So if you've moved over 50 miles, then those people will receive the settling in allowance. If you did not relocate for service, then you will not receive the settling in allowance.
Calvin, there's a question here about I have health insurance through the marketplace right now, and I am moving to a new state for my VISTA service. I have to reapply through the marketplace, right? So I'm going to give you the worst answer in the world, which is maybe. The reason I say that is because each marketplace, is based on a state marketplace. Say, for example, if you're in Idaho and you have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Idaho, you may be able to contact them and say, hey, I'm moving to California. Is there a way to transfer this so now it's Blue Cross Blue Shield of Idaho? They may ask you to reapply, especially if you're receiving certain subsidies in Idaho that you may not be eligible for in California, or if you are now eligible for Medicaid in California that you weren't eligible for in Idaho. You just want to talk about what that transfer is, because you're not the first one who's had to move when you've had marketplace insurance. So I would first check with your current insurance to see what that process is. So you may be able to transfer in some way, but you may have to reapply like you thought.
Yeah, and it really depends. Sometimes folks have coverage that is only like in network when they're in California, and if you're outside of California, you have to pay like exorbitant fees, or or you have to pay full price for services. So I would call your health provider and ask them that question because they're going to give you a better answer. And I see here we've got something. Daryl says, provide telephone number for audio version webinar tomorrow. Daryl, the phone number to call in to the webinar is on the slide, if that's what you meant by that. And it will be on Monday for the presentation. You'll find that phone number and the passcode on every slide as we're going through.
All right. There's another question here. Jamie here says that, I'm supposed to go to a different PSO, and then I read somewhere that I had to submit my fingerprints 30 days prior to my start date, and I never got contacted about that. So, so you actually have to submit your fingerprints 30 days from your start date. So it's not before your start date, it's from your start date. You just have to make sure that you get your fingerprint kit on your first day of service. On Monday, you go in, you ask your supervisor for that, and then you make sure that those get done as soon as possible, but no later than 30 days from your start date. So yeah, sorry if there's some confusion there about that, but it is 30 days after you start.
Awesome. So I have a question from Hashim in the chat, which I'm so glad you were able to join us. I know I just sent you an email yesterday saying, hey, join us today, so thanks for being here. It says, you say that there will be another webinar on our start date. Yes, read that email that I sent you yesterday. Does that mean I should carry my laptop to the job site? No, so no. I don't want to say no immediately, but your site should have a computer station set up for you, or someone at your site should have access to a computer that you can use for the hour and a half that we're going to be together on Monday. So I would say yes if you want to be extra careful, but they should have a place for you. That's a great question to ask your supervisor, to say, hey, on Monday, will I be able to have connectivity? Maybe they have a computer station for you, but maybe you don't have login credentials, or they have some system they have to set you up in, so maybe you won't have access on Monday. That's an excellent question to ask your supervisor. Let's see. Jamie says, if there was anything wrong with what I submitted, I would have heard something, correct? Jamie, that's an excellent question. So if you are done with all of your forms, you will, if you're, wait, is this,
this is about fingerprints. Sorry, Calvin.
Fingerprints, yeah.
Yeah, so she reached out to the fingerprint department. When she didn't hear back, she submitted it. And I'm assuming, so I read, if there's anything wrong, I read that two different ways. Do you mean, hey, I didn't do my fingerprints correctly, like they couldn't read them? Or if I have a conviction, would I hear something? The first is if you if they couldn't read your fingerprints or something, you will hear about that probably, but we won't have that yet. It takes a little bit of time to get that back. If there was something that you have that's a disclosure or that you didn't disclose, then you will hear from our fingerprint.
Jamie says that, she says, I didn't receive a kit, so I did them on my own. If you did them on your own and you sent them to the fingerprint team using either their label or using the address that's been provided, they will let you know if there is an issue with that. And if there is an issue, they'll work with you one-on-one to make sure that that is managed and mitigated.
Yeah, I would just send out an email, Jamie. I would send out maybe something to vistafingerprint@cns.gov just to do a check-in, since that's it's a very nuanced question. We want to make sure we give you the right answer.
Totally. I see something here from Richard Thompson. He says, how do I send my hours in? So that's, again, an excellent question for your supervisor. The VISTA program in general does not track your hours. As of this, remember, you serve 365 days. We're not tracking your hours. So your supervisor is probably tracking your hours, though, for your project. So if you're supposed to work 8 hours a day, I'm sure they have some sort of system where you're able to track those. So ask your supervisor about tracking your time and attendance.
We have a question here from Joshua. So he says, I need proof of my VISTA service for my loan agency, and I understand that it's in my AmeriCorps account under my service letter tab. I can click on the dates I'm serving, but it says it's unapplicable. Is this okay? I am unable to print the document out. So yeah, that's because you're not officially in service yet. So once you're officially in service, your first day is May 14th, you're going to get sworn in, you're going to turn in your oath to us, and within a week from that time, you will be activated in our system, and then you will have access to that letter. So you should have that within 5 business days of your start date. So what is that next? The 22nd? May 22nd is when you should have that letter by, if not sooner.
Yeah, if not sooner, yeah. Let's see. I was seeing one more thing here from Amanda. Amanda, please shoot me an email after this so we can discuss your later start date. It's I don't want to get into it on here with everyone because it's really specific. So if you would shoot me an email, just reply to something that I've sent you. Search for Calvin, and you'll find me, and I'll get you taken care of, or maybe we can even I'll call you after this. Let's see. Oh, I completely forgot about the phone. Operator, do we have anyone on the phone?
At this time, sir, I show no responses.
Okay, perfect.
Woohoo, we didn't neglect anybody.
We didn't neglect anyone. Okay, good. Let's see. We'll hold out for just a couple more seconds if anyone has any additional questions, any concerns about next week, about the webinar next week. Again, it's very, very important that you attend that webinar next week because that's where we're going to swear you in. And you're going to have to do an oath form, which is the document that we use to click a button that says, yes, this person's serving, it's okay to pay them. If we do not get that form, we cannot pay you at all. So again, it's very important that you're with us next Monday. We're going to go over a few things in more detail, and we're going to swear you in and make you official VISTA members.
That's right, and review that great benefits. There's a lot of cool benefits. Education award, you know, the healthcare stuff. Take a look at that because that can take a little bit and it's confusing. So take a look at that stuff. And I don't want to volunteer Calvin, but I'm going to volunteer him. Calvin is here too. If you have any questions, you should all have emails from Calvin as well as the VISTA Member Support Unit.
Take a look
we
at
want
that
your questions.
resource and contact sheet. Also, if something comes up and you're like, oh, I've got questions about this thing, take a look at that sheet, and I promise you there's probably a contact for it. And if not, then yeah, come to me and ask me. I'm very nice, and I love answering questions. So. And
come to him too because he'll be very excited that he missed one and can add to his baby of a contact sheet.
Oh, we got one last question. Daryl says, please remind me of the webinar time tomorrow. Daryl, there's no webinar tomorrow. The next webinar is going to be on Monday, the 14th. At the same time, same place. You should have registered, and you'll see the link there. So the webinar is not tomorrow. It is on Monday. So if you join us tomorrow, no one's going to be here. All right, so seeing no other questions, let's wrap this up. Thank you all so much for joining us on this call. Jessica and I will be talking to you on Monday. We're very excited to be back with you. Good luck for all of you who are relocating and all that good stuff, getting settled in. Yeah. I know that can be like a process, so best of luck. Again, if you have any questions about anything, check out that resource contact sheet for more specific, contact information. But if all else fails, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself. Let's suggest anything for the next week, any words of wisdom?
Just continue being great. We're very excited for what you're going to do this next year. We're thrilled to have you joining our great, wonderful VISTA family. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep, have a great day.